Welcome to Pushing Forward with Alycia, a podcast that gives disability a voice. Each week, we will explore topics like confidence, ambition, resilience, and finding success against all odds. We are creating a collective community that believes that all things are possible for all people. Open hearts, clear paths, let's go. Welcome back to Pushing Forward with Alycia, you guys. I'm so excited about this episode today because it is all about women empowerment, entrepreneurship. It's about disaster preparedness. It's about an incredible woman who I met. It's been 7 years or something like that. I think we met in 2018. We were just talking about it. Today's guest is Robin Wearley, and she's incredible. She is this entrepreneur innovator that has created something that is actually protecting disabled people from natural disasters and being able to get out of situations that they might not otherwise have been able to. And in a world where we are needing that more than ever, with all kinds of things going on, from needing to get off planes to fires to all the things that go on, she innovated something that she turned into a business. So this show is not only about being more prepared in a disaster, but it's also about coming up with an idea, putting your expertise from your past career into play and creating something that I assume, and you're going to be able to fill in the blank, that didn't exist before, that was desperately in need. And you saw the human need of something and created it. So Robin, welcome to the show. It is so good to see you. It's been way too long since we have spoken. So welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. And yes, I'm glad we're touching base again. Yeah, you pretty much set the stage there. I was a flight attendant before, and I realized there wasn't a good way to get people who use wheelchairs out of an airplane in an emergency, because your wheelchair is in cargo usually. And I had a friend of mine who was a frequent flyer, John Morris from wheelchairtravel.org. You probably know him, who called me up one day and said, how am I getting out of this plane in an evacuation? He was the inspiration for this. I tossed and turned all night and realized that there wasn't really a sling or a way to get people out. It was just a grab and go situation where fellow passengers would grab them and run out with them. People can get hurt that way. So after trying to get it into the airlines and meeting with people in the airlines, I realized maybe I should just sell it to the end users. And the community has been just incredibly welcoming and helpful and spreading the word. And we've morphed into disaster preparedness now. After the wildfires or hurricanes or flooding or earthquakes, there's just a million ways where there might be rubble outside that you can't roll over.
A million ways and a million disabled people all over the world that get in situations where alarms are going off, there's no access out, we're left behind, we don't know what to do. And so I can imagine that the community is embracing this, especially in 2025 with all of the disability inclusion advocacy and all of the voices that are coming out. That's how these movements spread, scale, and become businesses, with the community leaning in and going, you know what, the world might not see the need or understand the need for this. We're going to help you bring it to light and show the value and help you scale, hopefully. So I think that's incredible. Talk about the beginning. You told your whole story right there in 2 sentences. You've had this very incredible career in the airlines and in service in medicine. Will you talk a little bit about your past career and how that translates to your heart work of bringing this type of invention to the world? You worked with people. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I was a flight attendant for 10 years, and then I retired, went back to school and became a physician assistant. I did that for about 10 years clinically, and then I used that experience to move into the pharma industry and became a frequent flyer. And that's where I met John. All that experience dovetailed into this moment. I say I got struck by the lightning bolt when he asked that question, but into this moment where there's this unmet safety need for people who travel on airplanes. I had to find a seamstress. I didn't know how to put the thing together. When I met you, we had just launched our Kickstarter campaign, so I needed money. And fortunately, friends, family, people in the community came together and donated, and we met our goal for Kickstarter. So we were able to do our first production run. But I think it was just kismet that all my three professions came together to this moment where I just had to do it. Not to sound cheesy, but it's like a calling. I just had to do it. At the time, not really being necessarily a business person, I think I'm maybe blessed with a little bit of intuitive business sense.
No, that was good. You were talking about putting the breadcrumbs together of your career. It came together and then you saw the vision, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Before we even talk about when we met, talk about, so our viewers can get a visual in their head, and our listeners, more importantly, if they're not watching on YouTube, what is ADAPTS? Explain the actual product. You said you had to pull out the sewing machine and create it. Talk about what ADAPTS is and what it does.
Yeah, I had to find people who knew what I didn't know, but ADAPTS is basically a portable manual lifting sling. And I designed it to be able to fit on an airplane seat. As far as I know, it's the only sling that could be used side by side for a lateral transfer, but also head to foot down a narrow aisle. It's designed so anybody doesn't require any education, any kind of in-service or anything. You just grab a handle and you carry a person out and get them down the evacuation slide. It just weighs a pound and it's bright yellow, and it's bright yellow for a reason. A lot of people say, why can't it be black or something more subdued? It's bright yellow so that in low light conditions, when the electricity is out in your home or on an airplane when there's smoke, it can be seen by people. And yellow is the international color of emergency equipment. The yellow masks that come down on the airplane, the yellow life vests on the airplane. So that's why it's that color. Then it morphed from being just for the airlines to being any kind of emergency evacuation. We have pictures, our team taking John Morris down the stairway in a hotel, and you can do side by side in that instance. We had one customer who the elevator was out in his hotel and he was at a family reunion. He had used a power chair, so they couldn't get that down the stairs. I feel like it should be on every floor that has an accessible room in a hotel, for sure, along with the fire extinguisher. Actually, that's the point I was going to go back to. When you say left behind, how many times have you gone to an elevator and the instructions for an emergency evacuation to people with disabilities? Wait here for EMS to get you. So we started the Why Wait campaign. Why wait when the person sitting next to you on the airplane can grab a handle and carry you out? Why wait at the elevator when your neighbor in the hallway of your apartment building, high rise, or a hotel can grab a handle and carry you down the stairs? Why wait for EMS?
Why wait? This feels like it should be something that's in every person's disaster preparedness kit. We haven't spoken for a while, so my brain always goes to the airlines, which, number one, I think it's amazing that you were so forward thinking in an industry that is so difficult for specifically wheelchair users to navigate, and to have somebody to really care about something like this, being able to get a wheelchair user down an aisle in an emergency. Thank you for being that type of advocate, because there's so many things from an airline standpoint that we lose our absolute complete independence, from bathrooms to navigating to worst case disaster and being stuck. But we hear these stories too for so many years of hotels. That's one of my biggest fears, is getting stuck. I was in a hotel a couple of years ago and the fire alarm went off, and it was just a false alarm, but I was like, oh my God, I'm stuck here. I'm literally stuck. But then also you hear about the things like 9/11 and the fires in LA last year, and all these disabled people literally being left
Yes.
literally
Yeah.
to die because there's no way out.
I know of at least 4 stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so for you to bring this type of advocacy to light is not only so important with your creation to be offered and used readily available, and the importance of it and understanding that, but the education and the exposure on just the real issues, the inhumane thoughtlessness about how do you help disabled people survive situations that they were not thought of at all.
And honestly, think about everybody you know. Think about even your family members who are not disabled. Do they have a disaster plan? When you live in an area that's got whatever natural disaster it has, California earthquakes or wildfires or Florida hurricanes, how many people, regardless of whether they're disabled or not, have a disaster plan ready? I think not very many people. Not very many people. And for people who are disabled, it's even more important because what if you get to a shelter and you weren't able to bring your wheelchair with you? What about all of the things you need while you're there? We have a checklist. I started this when I was living in California for wildfire checklists. You got to take your own situation into account and make sure your go bag has whatever you need. And then you throw an ADAPTS sling in there. The issue with the airlines too, Michelle Irwin from All Wheels Up, trying to get a wheelchair spot on the airplane. She and I teamed up when she contacted me because when she talks about wheelchair spots, the question always comes up, what happens in an evacuation if you have a wheelchair spot on the airplane? And Michelle's answer until she met me was, what do you do now? It's no different. There's no plan specifically for wheelchair users to get out of an airplane in a disaster other than grabbing you and running out the door with you. If you're a person with osteogenesis imperfecta, brittle bone disease, or you're a person who has anything like ALS, for example, where you have no muscle tone and they grab you under your arms, you'll slip right through. People that don't have limbs, you can't grab them behind the knees. Sure, maybe a person who's paraplegic would be easy enough to get out in that instance. But there are people that'll get injured grabbing that way. ADAPTS was used on an emergency evacuation with one of our customers. She bought it in LA at that expo. A couple months later, flew with her teenage son, and they had an emergency evacuation in DC. I guess she and her husband used the sling to get her son out and down the evacuation slide. And then they gave it to the flight attendants who went back in and got an elderly lady out with it. I advocate for people to have their own, and then they've got it with them if they're in the hotel and the elevator goes out, or if they're going to Disneyland and they want to get on a ride. There's a million ways they can use their own. But I also want it in the overhead bins for the flight attendants to use in the safety kits with the other safety equipment. That basically simulated the flight attendants running to the emergency kit, getting the elderly lady out and down the slide. So I've got 2 airlines that stock it now. I'm just waiting on the airlines in the US. These are international airlines, but I'm waiting on the airlines in the US to get on board with the idea.
And is this a tough sell? Why wouldn't they?
That's a great question. And that's probably the $64,000 question. It should be a great sell. It only weighs a pound. You could leave a 6-pack of Coke off the plane and put this on. I don't know what the resistance is. I couldn't tell you, Alycia, except in my own honest opinion, it hasn't been an issue before. John Morris keeps track. He reaches out regularly to other frequent flyers and frequent travelers if they've ever been involved in an evacuation. And so far, nobody's responded that they have.
But to your point, even with elderly, it feels like there's so many use cases for it. I don't foresee flight attendants lifting off a person in any condition to help them get off of a plane in an emergency. That just seems very awkward and difficult to do.
Here's the history on that. When I was flying in the 70s and the 80s, we used to ask people to sit on one of the blankets. This was back in the days when they had blankets on the plane. Now, they don't even have blankets on the plane. When they do, they're like a little tissue paper blanket. Anyway, we used to have them sit on the blankets, and for whatever reason, that fell out of favor. I don't know if it was the community that didn't like it or they just got rid of blankets, but it's incredibly hard to grab the edge of a blanket and get someone out. In the 70s, the FAA and the Civil Aeronautics Board did a study with people on a mock airplane. It was a Boeing 727, and they had people, a variety of disabilities on the airplane, and then they had a mock evacuation. And to certify airplanes for flight, the crew has to be able to evacuate the entire airplane in under 90 seconds with half the doors open. So what this study determined was that people with disabilities, are you ready for this? Need to sit as far away from the exits to allow able-bodied people to get out first. Now, in defense of the airlines, Nobody is sitting farther than 30 feet from an exit. They were told to wait until the cabin crew could come back and help them get out after all the able-bodied people were out of the plane. Again, why wait? Why wait when the person sitting next to you or behind you or in front of you can grab a handle and carry you out when everybody else goes?
No, it's literally second-class citizen stuff. It's, hey, disabled person, pay a full price on your ticket. You are not going to be able to have independence on the flight because we're going to take your mobility device. You are not going to be able to use the bathroom unless somebody can get you there, in which the aisle chair does not fit into the door. So you have to find a way to get over to the toilet without getting somebody else's urine on your hand. And then you need to also be the last person to be concerned with an evacuation plan. It is so inhumane, like to the nth degree. From a consumer standpoint, it's unbelievable that it's actually even okay in any way, shape, or form.
And able people don't recognize that. They don't recognize what you have to go through.
Yeah.
Everybody lives in their own world.
Yeah.
They don't recognize what the challenges are.
Airline or hotel or 9/11, leave them there. We'll go back and get them last, and they die. Literally.
Yeah, literally. The other thing about hotels are high rises. So they buy these chairs. They're like the slinky wheels that go down. Those chairs are really expensive, like $1,500 minimum. Some are even more expensive. And they're slow. So great. They don't put them on every floor necessarily. I don't even know how many they might have. They may have one for the whole building. Who knows? Somebody's got to get that chair up to the person and then take it down one person at a time. When you could have an ADAPTS in every accessible room in the hotel, and that's the way to get everybody down. There's no having EMS or first responders drag that chair. You're lucky if the person who knows how to use the chair is even at work that day. This totally morphed from just airplanes. I had people who know more about business than I do saying, why aren't you selling these to the end users? And I'm like, duh. And that's how I ended up at the Abilities Expos.
So who's your biggest client right now? Is that the end user?
Yeah, by far the end user. Yeah. People from the Abilities Expos and just online sales. I'm always trying to get bigger business to business contracts. The original intention was the airlines. Now it's morphed into hotels, arenas. Think about when you go to a football game. What if there's an evacuation there? There's just so many uses. And then disaster preparedness, the government, there's just a lot of other venues now that I've had to consider. The beauty of that is they order big orders at a time, whereas the end user orders one or two or four at a time. By the way, schools, we work closely with the Council for Exceptional Children, which is an organization for administrators for special ed programs in schools.
Oh my gosh.
So they're all into the disaster planning.
You just gave me a flashback from high school because I went to a high school that was 2 stories. We did not have an elevator for the first 2 years that I was there. There were certain teachers that would not move their classroom. I spent all sophomore year history in the library. They refused to move their class downstairs for me. That was back in the days where it was still okay to challenge ADA. Anyway, they finally put this elevator into high school. And it's one of those tin kind of janky elevators. And when I was in high school, I was really embarrassed of my disability. I did not want to shout out loud from the rooftop, like, I'm an African. I'm like, no, that's not me. That's how I was in high school. And so one day I'm going to class and I get stuck in the elevator midway. And there was no way for me to get down. And there was this emergency button.
Yeah.
Like, no way am I pushing that. I sat in that elevator for so long.
Oh,
To your point, that ADAPT should be in every school. Why would it not be?
yeah.
It could even help with sports injuries and all kinds of things.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Even on the airplane, if somebody's injured in a crash, you can get them out that way. In an airplane, you got to get people out fast before there's a fire that starts.
I love this idea of yours. When we met at that trade show, that's when I was still in my corporate selling career. Oh, I want to come sell for you. I want to come sell for you. I love what you're doing. I think it is so innovative. It's so forward thinking. I'm so happy that your business is scaling and that you're growing and all of these things 7 years later. That's so incredible. It's so important. It's incredibly important.
I think you probably agree with me. I know you do. Just when you feel so stuck, when you think, I'm giving up, I can't do this anymore, something wonderful happens.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about entrepreneurship, the grind.
Yeah.
What is that story? How's it been? Give us an example of that. Because we were just talking about entrepreneurship. One day you feel like something came in, you're like, yes, this is going to work. And then the next day you're like, I'm not going to survive. I don't know how I'm going to do this. So talk about that a little bit and give us an example.
Yeah, I feel like you have to be pretty thick-skinned and realize that when you're rejected for whatever reason, it's not about you. It's just whatever their business decision is. I think I had to learn that early on because I felt like every lead I'd track down or every proposal I'd try to get out there, if they didn't buy it, I was like, how could you not? And I'm not going to lie, probably every 10 times you cold call some company or whatever, only one time they bite. The other thing is, you know how slowly the wheels turn. I say the wheels turn so slowly, they turn backward, especially with the airlines. It just takes them forever to make a decision. You get discouraged and you get lost. And then all of a sudden, boom, it opens up. You get a request for a proposal or a request for a quote. Next thing you know, you're shipping them off to whoever's using it. The first airline that bought from me, I was so thrilled. I did the happy dance. Kenya Airways put them on their 787 Dreamliners.
Wow.
Those kinds of things happen just when you think it's a dead issue, and all of a sudden it comes together. You just have to stick to it. If you're really committed to the mission and the vision, you just have to stick through it. If it was easy, everybody'd be doing it.
Totally. That's really good advice right there. I think especially in the business that we're in, maybe you could give some advice there. It's not only hard to sell and be an entrepreneur and scale a business, and that 1 out of 10, I even think it's more than that. I have to reach out to 50 to 100 new customers to get 5 new meetings to hopefully book 1. A constant grind every week. You have to work your process or it doesn't happen, right? Things don't just come to you. They do to a small percentage, right? But you have to have the hustle.
I always say you got to work the plan for the plan to work.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
On top of that, you're selling something. I'm selling something. Our community who's in business is selling something that people don't understand. They don't think that they can relate to. So we're not only selling a product, and I guess any entrepreneur business owner is educating in something, but there feels like there's an extra layer of that in the business that we're in because it's disability related. So for the entrepreneurs that are out there listening, what's the advice there?
Yeah, I guess it's just surround yourself with people who are going to be your advocates and help promote everything. I just never turned down a single idea. People would come to me and say, have you done this? Have you done that? Maybe I already have. Take it all in because you never know what's going to stick. You never know what's going to work. I guess be open to all the opportunities, whether you think they're going to fit or not. It's really hard. You just really have to have the tenacity and the desire to really see it work. And then couple that with the fact that we're in a very niche business.
Yeah.
But anybody could become part of the disabled community at any time. That's what people don't understand either. You can say, oh, that's not me. It doesn't apply to me. Someday it very well might.
Yeah.
It's like no matter how small your target audience might be, there's still the chance that something's going to come of it. And something that you think might be really small could be really big in the long run, could blossom out to something much bigger. So I just don't poo the little things.
Yeah.
I treat the little order from maybe one little school district the same. I get excited about that as I would if Delta Airlines tomorrow bought 2,000 units. Excited about both of them.
Yeah. You're doing amazing work. And you're a testimony to all the women out there too, that you can come up with an idea, create it, scale it, launch it, put it in the market, all the things, and help the world in the same time. It's been beautiful to watch you grow this business, honestly.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I want to get involved. I love your business. I support it 100%. I think it is such a great amazing idea. And I love it when someone creates something that you don't see and there's such a need for it. It's so motivating for me as an entrepreneur to watch you, honestly.
To me, it's like that career arc where I've done these other careers and now I'm here. I'm technically retired 10 years ago, but and now I'm in the giving back stage where I feel like I'm more than happy to help mentor people and more than happy to help share my experience in starting and running a business. I feel that's my calling now, if you will. I used to say that you could never be too rich or too thin or have too many products for the disabled community.
There you go. I love it.
There may be other slings out there on the market and people just need to find which one is the best fit for them, but this is mine and this is my lane. And I'm more than happy to help people learn from my mistakes and get it out there.
So we're going to leave all of your information in the show notes, but I want you to tell our community and the companies that follow this show how to find you and buy ADAPTS for their company, organization, household, all of the things.
Okay, so we sell on Shopify. If it's an end user customer, someone who travels or whatever wants it for home, then go to ADAPTS, ADAPTS.org/shop. And that will take you right to our shop page. By the way, ADAPTS, when I was trying to think of a name, it's an acronym for a disabled passenger transfer sling.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. I was at my dad's visiting my family and I was in the shower thinking, what should I name it? I do my best thinking in the shower now and I go, oh my gosh, a disabled passenger transfer sling, ADAPTS. And I jumped out of the shower, put my robe on and ran out to the family and said, ADAPTS. And they go, what? And I go, ADAPTS is the name of my sling. And they go, why? And I go, a disabled passenger transfer sling. Everyone's like, Eureka.
I love it. That's incredible.
So it's morphed, like I said, from that. Now we just call it ADAPTS portable transfer sling or portable rescue sling. Now, as far as companies like airlines or hotels or whatever, send an email to us at info@adapts.org or to me, Robin@adapts.org, ROBIN, and request a quote because if it's a bulk order, we can add in discounts or shipping discounts and so on. If it's a customer buying online, just 1 or 2 or 3 at a time, then we pay for shipping.
I told you as we wrap up, we do a little pushing forward moment. Do you have a little advice or a quote, mantra, something you could give away to our community to feel inspired on their way out?
Oh, gosh. I wish I'd have thought of that before you asked me, Alycia.
I like surprising my guests so they don't know.
Yes, you do surprise me. I feel like I threw out all my quotes already. I think just the main thing is if it were easy, everybody'd be doing it. You have to have follow through. You have to have good people around you. You have to be open to everybody's ideas. When you're in the brainstorming session, there's no bad idea.
No bad idea.
That's not very poignant.
I love it. I love it. There's lots of people that follow this show that want to know how to start businesses and scale and do all the things. So I think that's really good advice.
Yeah.
And I encourage everybody who's listening to this show to follow ADAPTS and watch not only the amazing work that you're doing, but also your entrepreneurship hustle and journey. It's very inspiring to watch as empowered women that are entrepreneurs. Robin, thank you so much for your time and coming on the show. It's so nice to see you.
Thank you. It was so much to be on the show. And I'm just so proud of you. You've come such a long way, you and Marty. It's just wonderful to see all your success.
I'm just going to tell the story real quick. Our paths crossed at that booth in 2018 at a trade show where I was dazzled by your product. And in that moment, when I was at your booth, somebody from the Miss Wheelchair California pageant ran by me. They dropped the flyer in my lap, said, you should do this. They kept going. And I applied for that because I thought it would be a good platform to try to start to speak if I won. And I did not win. I won Miss Congeniality, which I think that's a win.
Of course.
That's when my speaking career started, in that moment right there with you at your booth.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Your entrepreneurship. You know what? I haven't thought about it for so long, but as we were starting, it brought me right back. I wrote my first advocacy speech for that event, and we were together in that moment. So I was telling Marty, you always hold a special space for me in my heart. It's something I'll never forget, and you were right there with me.
Oh my gosh, that almost makes me cry. That is fabulous.
Yeah.
That is wonderful. Oh, I thought of a quote.
Okay, good. What's the quote?
My father, he's also an entrepreneur. My father used to say to me, if you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every time.
Ooh, I love that one.
Yeah. But you got to aim for it. Aim for the stars.
That's a really good pushing forward moment. Thank you so much. It was so lovely to see you. We will stay in touch. Thank you to our community for showing up. Please share this episode. This product is so useful for our community. Don't hold this episode for yourself. Share it out and let's get some eyes on ADAPTS. This has been Pushing Forward with Alycia, and that is literally how Robin and I roll on this podcast. We will see you next time.
Thank you.